Welcome. It is wonderful to see everyone here. I look forward to this presentation. I've been looking forward to it since I was invited to do this. I this is a topic very close to my heart. I see so many people, uh, I see so much where people need this and will people can benefit from the help that this can provide. So uh, here is the share, and let's get this to roll. So, all right, titles developing things over time. So the importance of being affirming LGBTQ plus youths with a or without disabilities. So individuals with autism uh, or without autism can all benefit from the things shared within this presentation. I just want to put that out here up front. But uh, quick background on myself here. Um, I primarily work with individuals working on um, dealing with sexuality and relationship related behavioral concerns and helping them live their best lives. Um, I started working back then it was called a habilitation aide back in 2007. Uh, Now it's DSPs and RBTs and all of that. Um, but uh, I've worked in a 24/7 facility for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and various dual diagnoses. Um, I've been BCBA since 2021 and a certified behavioral psychologist since uh, the beginning of 2025. So that is a newer certification that's started. Um, and I've supervised RBTs in a pediatric clinical setting, like we discussed before. And enough about pretty much enough about me. I also just started supervision to become a ASECT sexuality counselor. So, who is this presentation for? Uh, this is this can benefit a lot of people. So, families who care for youth who identify somewhere under the LGBTQ plus umbrella, individuals with autism that identify under that umbrella, especially professional staff who want to perform ethically and respectfully toward those in their care and the stakeholders around those clients. Anyone who might have a negative view of affirming practices as they're presented in the world today because it's used a bit as a buzzword. And I think showing what uh, the clinical term means and kind of what it can be uh, can kind of take away some of that stigma and show that in behavioral health, it is not that boogeyman that it has been made out to be. It can be something that can make lives so much better. And also, anyone who wants to help LGBTQ plus youth grow up to be happy, healthy adults and live a little more confidently. Because if you live in a setting where people are more open to who you are and more affirming of who you are, you're obviously going to be a little bit more confident. So words matter. It matters what we say and how we describe things. So we'll do some quick terminology first. Uh, so LGBTQ plus, um, big bunch of letters there, but stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. The plus just stands for anyone that can fall under or identifies under something that doesn't quite fall under the textbook definition of one of the other letters, essentially. So there's individuals that may be intersexed or asexual, or there's a variety of other identities that can fall under this umbrella. So we put the plus at the end so that, like it says, this is not exclusive. We are all about the idea of affirming that if you want to find community, then you can find it here. So the idea of heteronormativity, big word, but it's just a term that you might see thrown around out there. It's just a term that you might see used. It's just used for the idea that when someone's trying to say there's only one way to be good or right in the way that you are expressing yourself or engaging in relationships. This is something that the larger society at large can tend to enforce sometimes and can tend to put pressure on people to live in certain ways. And it's been shown that this can have some negative effects on the way that people express themselves and the way that their mental health outcomes are. So I want to make sure that we kind of have that. So a lot of the things that fall under heteronormativity are this idea that being straight, the idea that there's only male and female as the only genders or sexes, the idea that marriage is the only path, the fact that, or the idea that people having kids is the goal, sex is only for procreation. There's a lot of things that fall under heteronormativity, and these are things that by presenting this as the only path, it can make it so that if the person in your care has any thoughts outside of this, they might feel like they're lesser than, they're in some way not able to express themselves fully, and they need to hide. So that's something that can cause a lot of, or can lead to a lot of negative outcomes for them, or can correlate with, let's say. So two behavior analysis terms that broken down to the simple terms: reinforcement and punishment. That's what we talk about in behavior analysis all the time, but reinforcement, just adding or removing something to increase something you want to see. And punishment is just removing or adding something to decrease something you don't want to see. I'm going to avoid discussing these in clinical terms as much as possible. But in general, the general rule is you want to see more reinforcement and avoid punishment whenever possible, is the general rule in behavior analysis. And I think we can all agree that feels like a good, is best practice for behavior analysis. And in general, that's kind of what we want to go for in life. So we all want to avoid punishment. And punishment isn't always intentional, the same way that we aren't always intentional in the things that we may reinforce. The same way that we'll get into this a little bit later, heteronormativity or these stereotypes about what is okay aren't always reinforced or promoted intentionally. Gender and sexuality, these are two separate categories. Gender is how one perceives or presents themselves privately or publicly. And sexuality is more or less related to the notion of attraction. So who someone is or is not attracted to. So that can include someone who is not attracted to anyone, who that would be fall under the term asexual or some variety of that, which is something that can exist and is rather common in the autism community. So that's something that there is a growing body of scholarship on, but there is still sadly, a small amount of actual clinical research out there on, which will be wonderful to get more out there. Affirming practices, just straight up definition, you get recognize, validate, and support the identity stated and expressed by individuals served. But to do reinforcement, we're yes-anding the person. We are trusting them to authentically show who they are. The more you say yes to them, the more we trust them, the more they're going to trust us. Punishment, avoiding it, like we said before. And there's a lot of punishment, like I was saying before, built into the larger culture. So being that home base of reinforcement for the LGBTQ plus people in your life can be a genuine lifesaver sometimes. But as far as, well, let me slow up for a second. Does anybody have any questions about what I've went over so far or anything I've said? All right. All right. So, as far as affirming practices that are validated, 100% free, legal, and ethically appropriate, as it says at the bottom here. You can recognize, validate, and support the LGBTQ plus people in your life by doing things like using the names and pronouns when they express these to you. Because by sharing this with you, they've shown that they trust you. Individuals with individuals with autism may not be able to express this. So if someone can express this to you, they have made the effort to find the words to express this. That's wonderful. So they have put forth the effort to find the ability to express this, affirm that. If they are not around and they've expressed how they want to be referred to, validate them when they're not around. Y'all know that as their staff, as their family, as their friends, you're there to be their advocate. So lots of people that with a limited vocal capabilities, limited ability to express themselves sometimes, you have to be their voice sometimes. So whatever they've expressed to you, try and be there for them. Try to be that expression if they have given you that ability to help them express that. But only if they've explicitly told you how they want this expressed. Because sometimes there can be this pressure to inform and be in line with the way expectations are. Local expectations, family expectations, because you want life to be easier. You want life to be safe. That's understandable. But we also want them to live a life that is true and authentic and also safe, because if somebody has to pretend to be someone they're not, if they all of a sudden stop that, so they stop masking, so masking's covering up who they are in order to fit in. So this can be something that autistic people can do sometimes to fit in. It happens for uh, LGBTQ plus people sometimes. In that case, they might call it, you might refer to it as code switching, which comes from another realm of another theoretical discourse. Um, but it's just this idea that you're acting like somebody else that fits in order to fit in. So make sure that you're being there and advocating for them when they're not there. Affirm when they make a choice. If they choose an activity, even if it's not what you're expecting, they are, if they pick a, like I said, an activity you didn't expect, like if you perceive them to be a boy and they pick a Barbie, or you perceive them to be a girl and they're choosing to uh, wear pants and do traditionally more masculine or little boy activities, go with it, because this is something that it doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of sexuality or gender. It can just mean this is how they are expressing themselves. It's what they are enjoying. Society places value on things. Adults place value on things that kids do not. Um, so let's see, we will kind of learning what your own boundaries are can be really important. And remembering to act on your values, we'll get to that here in a bit. Being there as a sounding board can be really one of the biggest things you can do for them. Making sure that you are there to just listen and being open to accepting when they say that something you said or didn't work for them. When something you said or did hurt their feelings, when something you said or did is not fulfilling their needs. This can be indicated in a variety of ways. If they can't verbally express this to you, it can be indicated by withdrawing or like not seeking out time with you as much. So kind of looking at other ways of seeking out extra time with them. So maybe finding opportunities to open up more more social time with other peers so that they can have more chance to explore and find more of themselves with others. And the thing is, kindness is free, legal, and always ethically appropriate. So nobody's ever going to shut that down. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. This comes from a survey done in 2024 by the Trevor Project. So according to this survey, 88% of LGBTQ plus youth that were surveyed responded that trusting that I know who I am was a key component of them feeling safe or affirmed at the home or wherever they were living. Someone using the name or pronouns that they are choosing to use. 59% were saying that was important. That was an important component of feeling affirmed. Validating them when they're not around, 81%, because like I said, we're their advocates. We're there when they're not there. Like I was saying before with the activity choices, that's makes up 57% of the responses they got on this. Asking questions to better understand their identity. Just because we don't know doesn't mean we can't find out. Respectfully asking questions can always lead to better understanding. Sitting in silence and not knowing is worse than asking a question and having it come off wrong sometimes. Coming at it from a place of humility and concern, and that's where it really that's what really comes across, and it can come across just in the way you present yourself. It's all about approach. Accepting their partner, 55%. Not everybody's going to find a partner. That's the thing with the individuals that are on the spectrum, individuals with disabilities that are under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. They may not find a partner, but if they do, accepting their partner, not questioning, oh, are you sure you want to date this person? You can still be protective of them the same way you would be of any other youth in your care, but just be aware that you're not be aware of the way you're doing it, because sometimes people can come across as sometimes it can be perceived as an attack when it's just meant as concern. And something as simple as showing support on social media or displaying pride flags can be seen as a huge support. And they also indicated not showing support for public figures that they perceive as being against their identity can be a key component that makes them feel affirmed. So, why you should be affirming. Reinforcement is more effective than punishment from a behavior analytic lens. 100%. Behavior analysts love data. That's why I went with the survey back there. As far as reinforcement, it's much more effective than punishment. The person tends to be the expert on who they are. They have the most direct information on who they are and what their experience is like. They know what's going to be most reinforcing for themselves. They are going to understand if, like, let's say they ask for a different hairstyle, they ask for a different clothing choice, something like this. It could be a gender choice. It could be a it could have something to do with a representation to signal something to do with their sexuality. It could just be a something addressing a sensory need. There's no way of you knowing without discussing it with them. So communicate with the person in your life. Now, a big thing, affirmation leads to confidence and community. It leads to less isolation, oftentimes, which means less struggles. Because, like I said before, if you can be there as their sounding board, if you can be closer to them, they're less likely to feel isolated and less likely to experience negative outcomes. And cultural humility, just a big word for the idea that your values or experiences are not rules for others. What if I'm uncomfortable? It's okay to be uncomfortable. However, we are here for the person. We are here to support them. We're here to keep them safe. We're here to lead with best practice. Thoughts and feelings are not rules, but we can look at it as what is the immediate harm that can come from things? What is your obligation to the young people, the young person in your life? Do what is right now that keeps them alive, healthy, happy, living their best life. This also is going to keep them communicating with you, because if you keep the environment reinforcing, if you keep them where they experience a environment where people are accepting, that people are communicating with them consistently, that people are not leaving them to self-isolate, they're less likely to engage in activities that are dangerous. It gives them less downtime to get into habits that you might imagine could be risky. All of the things that you imagine teenagers getting into, if a teenager lives in a less affirming environment, they're more likely to get into those. That has been shown to be the case. I have a large list of references at the end that describe this, but research is research. I've seen it many times in my experiences in professional work and in um, uh, in charitable and uh, other work that I've done. Um, now, so let's see. So uh, something that I wanted to also put out there, individuals with autism uh, on average often identify as somewhere under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. And the statistics, the last one I read was they are 7 times more likely to identify somewhere within the gender nonconforming or trans category. So being aware of that while you have someone in your care, just being aware that when they do something that falls outside of these societal rules, um, individuals that fall on the autism spectrum, there's this perception that there's these strict rules and that you have to live a certain way. There's also a lived experience of wanting to understand why and wanting to understand why others want you to live a certain way and why is this rule in place. So being able to demonstrate for that person in your life why they should do what you're telling them to do and why they should have to follow this specific expectation. So why should boys have short hair? Why should uh, girls wear dresses? Why is makeup for uh, girls? Why is painting nails only for uh, painting nails makes me feel pretty. Why can I not do that? Because I'm a boy. All of these sort of things. These sort of things are things that they'll question, but it won't necessarily be associated with a label of a sexuality or a gender orientation. Um, so you can look at this from terms of a of your values. So I'm not giving specific guidance on a treatment or method of dealing with struggles. However, there's something that you can seek out more information about is there's ACT or acceptance commitment therapy. It is was developed within behavior analysis, and it was done based around the idea that you take someone and you work within their values, you take their structure of what is important to them and find the way of helping them get to that most valued life, that most valued experience. So if you are feeling uncomfortable with what's going on, if there's something associated with the way that an individual in your care is identifying or expressing themselves that is uncomfortable, look at what is most valuable to you at this time. Like, what is most important to you in relation to that person? What do you find most valuable for them? What do you want for them? And what do they want for themselves? So, um, I want to ask a question. What do you consider to be some of the most important things for uh, your like what are the things you value, what are some things you value most for your interactions with uh, the uh, individuals in your care, whether family members, uh, clients, however they may be related to you. Does anybody have uh, ideas or thoughts on this?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Values are based on the idea of what is important. So, what is a thing that you consider important that gets you through? What is important to you that makes it worth it to get through discomfort? So, like, what do you consider to be of value or important in your uh, in life living with the people around you?
Yeah,
So
I would, if I was going to answer it, I would say community.
community is a great one. Yeah.
And
So
then we have a question in the chat,
yes,
too. Is that okay if I ask it?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Um, uh, we have a question saying, how can we explain to other parents how we are choosing to support the child in their youth, in their truth, sorry.
Okay. So as far as a like how we're choosing in terms of concrete ways of doing that, or in terms of the like in terms of the why or the like practice of how.
We have a perhaps both question mark.
Actually, okay. So well, the idea is looping it in with the idea of values, and community is a great value to loop this in with. Um, so we're wanting to build the notion of community. So one of the, we'll just go on the value of community as being a key component that is developed, especially in the preteen, uh, uh, early teenage years. Um, and we want them to start developing this ability to develop community, to develop friendships, to develop connections. Um, if they feel this sense of connection with people, if they feel seen, if they feel like people around them are listening to them, then they will be more likely to continue to share honestly. They will not be hiding things about themselves. That will include not just hiding things about their identity, they will be less likely to hide things about what they're doing behaviorally. So, concrete things about what they're doing with their life. Um, so, something that I might, here, let me, whoops, long screen. There we go. So let me, I can probably hop to this actually. This would be a good way of doing this. So by not doing it, I'll use counterexample. So uh, with where in that middle school, early high school years, um, we are decreasing the risk of substance abuse and misuse uh, and of uh, sexual risk-taking behaviors because you're keeping those lines of communication open. You are keeping the notion of uh, uh, it also one of the key risk-taking behaviors that develops during this period of time can be a avoidance uh, getting tested or regular medical examinations, which is extremely common. Finding the child a doctor that's affirming uh, can be very, very important. Um, so there's a lot of things that are missing from the um, health education and mental health education of the basic curriculum that's taught out there. So we want to make sure that they have that safety, that they feel secure enough to come to you when things are going well, so that if things are going wrong, if they are in a uh, unhealthy relationship, so if they're willing to tell you about a good relationship going well, they're more likely to communicate with you when things aren't going well, or if they are uncertain if it's going well, so they want to get your advice because they trust you to give advice because you've reinforced them by uh, being that open, affirming, kind ear to listen. So that's something that can be really helpful. That's something that can come out of this. Um, During this period of time, it also um, they developed um, uh, they developed the ability to uh, they develop their abstract thinking skills. So to put that in behavior analytic terms, because um, uh, not as behavior analyst, I don't we don't usually talk about thinking and things of that thinking and memories and things of that manner. But um, that looks more like if you see where you're going, if you can see a future, if you see other people engaging in healthy relationships that look like you, if they see stories about people that look like them, if they hear you talking about people like them in a way that's positive, it's more likely to get them to continue talking to you about these experiences and talking about when these experiences are going well or if they're not going so well. Is this heading in a direction that works for my question asker?
I was gonna hop in, so thanks for asking
Absolutely.
that.
Yes.
And so I think that uh, like as a parent, you want to, of course, protect your child, stand up for your child. And there are situations where, um, you get pushback from other parents about like how your child dresses in a certain way that is more authentic to your child. And they'll even say it in front of the children. And so something that was requested, and we can kind of workshop this a little bit maybe, is just like what would be kind of a elevator speech type of response when that situation happens.
Okay. So I have uh, I have had this conversation before with parents several times with the on several different topics. So let me see. Great example would be um, let's let's use the example of their uh, their uh, their teen uh, their teen uh, that presents as male is wearing fingernail polish, and the parent is asked, or and then one of the parents is like, well, why is he wearing nail polish? That's not for boys, or however they present it, however they're describing it. They can go, here, they're choosing to wear this because they like the way it looks. They are choosing to match it with their, like, describe it in terms that are describe it in terms that don't even address the notion that they are not of the gender that they expect. So just being like, they're wearing it because they like it. Uh, they're it's like they chose, it's like, oh, they're wearing green nail polish because it matches their shirt. And it's like if they push back, it's like, well, that's not for boys. It's like, well, that is your opinion on this, and they're feeling really wonderful about this. And I love that they're feeling super confident right now. Um, so just kind of standing and being proud as you model the pride you want to see them have in themselves for them is a good way of doing it, because if we want them to be proud of themselves, they need to see how to do it, because uh, that's something within behavior analysis. We have behavioral modeling. uh, kids don't start out knowing how to be confident adults. They don't start out by learning how to be confident teenagers. I mean, a lot of us probably remember being uh, you know, teenagers, preteens. We learned from watching our classmates. We learned from watching sometimes maybe the adults in our life. Hopefully, being kind and speaking out in favor of us, sometimes not that. But if we had the opportunity to see our parents speaking out on our behalf, you're teaching them the language to use. So saying, I, you know, uh, they're feeling wonderful. Like, I'm really proud of them for saying that they wanted this, especially if they have uh, a limited ability to, um, to like express themselves sometimes. Be like, they did, it's like, yeah, they picked, it's like, yeah, they picked this color out all on their own, and now they put it on, they painted their own nails. Isn't that great? Like, just make a deal of it. Like, with their permission, I would say, like, give them that, like, model this confidence for them. Um, I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't push it super hard, but I would model confidence in saying that you are proud of the fact that they are being themselves, and just saying, they have chosen this for themselves. They are making this decision. They have decided they are doing this. And, what's the, uh, it doesn't really, avoiding making comments that discuss the other person is a good way of avoiding um, anything that will escalate a situation as well. So saying uh, anything associated with, well, what about this with your child? Or what about, why do you wear nail polish? That can kind of, um, that drags them into it. I like keeping it focused on your relationship with the child that you're involved with, because that keeps it focused on that relationship. It keeps it focused on something you are uh, connected to. It focuses on the value that you have placed on that relationship, because that's what you have control over, and that's what you really value. That's the thing that's really important to you, and that's the thing that you can fight for. So, as the caregiver, as the parent, as everything, because that's where our heart is. Um, does that is that helpful? Uh,
I've gotten some comments in here that are just kind of like backing up, like some quick points you could make that align with your advice, like,
awesome.
free country, freedom of expression. Does this person
Sure.
value personal freedoms? Um, Good, and then this should be fine. Affirming people and providing choices reduces risk
Yeah.
of self-harm and suicidality. Yeah.
Yes.
It's none of anyone else's business how you dress your own kid.
Very
And I
true.
really liked this last point too of like you love your kid no matter what, and you want your kid to hear that part.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Because, yep. Love's at the root of it, because we
yeah.
care about them.
hmm
It's, you know,
And I love these quotes too from Lujane in the chat. Like, we're supporting our child in expressing who they are. We don't expect everyone to fully understand, just to respect our decision to lead with love and prioritize their well being. What matters most is that our child feels safe, seen, and supported at home. We're doing what's best for their mental health and well being, and that means trusting them to show us who they are, not the other way around. And she has some other really good quotes in the chat too, but I don't want to take up your presentation,
oh,
but it's good stuff.
glorious. I love it. That's wonderful. Uh, yeah, that's wonderful. Well, this is essentially the last slide. So not to end, so I will not end on the super downer slide of the unsound practices. Uh, Super brief overview of Kansas resources. Essentially, ACLU of Kansas will have a ton of resources that exist. Um, I need to, yeah, I need to fix the slide here, but ACLU of Kansas, and then the uh, trusting the young person. They will fix things. They will tell you who they are. But here's, let me, and then I have references and references and references. Uh, but yeah, everyone.